This will probably be a shorter video, but I just want to talk about games with reputations that typically I never understood. Some people reputations they get kind of make sense to them, but for me, I don't know, some of the stuff being said about it, I feel doesn't really fit with the game itself. So I just want to talk about some of those. It'll probably be a rapid fire format, so let's just get this started. Never understood the comparison that Digimon, Cybersleuth, or Hacker's Memory was just like Persona anyway, especially when the only comparison I can think of is they're both RPGs that take place in Japan. Like, a more better comparison Megaten-wise probably be Double Summoner Soul Hackers with the whole entire aspect of, oh, you're recruiting demons, use them in the battlefield, just like you do with Digimon. Or, oh, you also have the virtual world, Paradigm X, in the case of Double Summoner Soul Hackers, the entire thing. Oh, there's even both games of a person who's a musician that uses a device in order to use for combat, kind of thing. So, that makes more sense because that's a Persona example. I don't know, like, I played Hacker's Memory, but it's like, I don't know, people generally think of Persona. I know they generally think of Persona 3, 4, and 5 with social links, which those games don't have. Or people generally think of also the whole entire thing of Persona, which you also don't have, since the Digimon are more stuff you have to use for combat, not like, you know, a part of your soul in the sense of how Persona portrays the whole entire thing of character development with their persona. So, there's the comparison. Flex Soul Hackers would have been a way better comparison, but I guess this Persona is a more popular Megaten thing. People will say it's basically just like Persona, even if the comparison never made any sense to me. I still don't understand people say that Digimon Survive was misleading the marketing, when they have been from the get-go telling you that it was mostly a visual novel, typical RPG on the side. Like, even the back of the box highlights the visual novel aspect first, and not the typical RPG aspect. The developers did not lie about this. People keep trying to use that to blame the game for their own inability to you look at the back of the box, basically. Like, I don't get it. They were pretty straightforward, especially when a whole bunch of the most of all the freaking promotional streams they did for the game, showing it off, was showing the visual novel aspects, because that was the main part of the game. People say that they lied, just for that people basically decided to just assume it was mostly a technical RPG, and then rather than realize they made a mistake, decided to claim the developers are lying instead. No, you don't start from zero when your Digimon die in Digimon World Next Order. They keep a fraction of their stats every single time they reincarnate, and you get tamer skills in order to pretty much have them gain more stats, or be able to increase the evolution speed to get stats so you get the evolution back quicker. You also make upgrades to Phodia, so you can pretty much train even better and get them back even faster. Although one upgrade you really don't want, at least early on, is the one that increases their lifespan. You want them to die faster so they get more stats in the next cycle, and then get stronger each time. So, I got a reputation. I know it's clearly people who didn't play the game, just assuming it based off of what they heard, but that's never been the case around World Next Order, and I don't understand the reputation for that. Okay, how the hell did Hyrule Warriors enter Calamity lie when literally one of the first thing the game shows you is the fact that time travel was involved? Also, it's Legend of Zelda. Time travel evolved a lot of the time. This is what I really don't get. People said how the game was a bait and switch when it wasn't from the get-go off the rip. And even a free demo they made before the game came out that literally shows you the cutscene involves time travel. So I don't understand how people complain that, oh, Hyrule Warriors Enter Calamity was also a lie and misleading. It wasn't at all. Like, what is this? In what world does this look like a Funko Pop to you? Never understood the complaint people have with games like the rubber like Telltale game style stuff of, oh, the disclaimer that the story is tailored towards your choice. People saying, no, it's not, because all has a predestined end. Yes, every narrative is predestined end and everything, but the choices you make is changing the story. What people, I guess, expected is that they expect the entire plot to radically change entirely from a completely different narrative. No, choices you make and the characters you have still with you is still changing the story. A story change is still being made. I guess people just expected like something more like the entire plot would change, but never seen this kind of complaints like other games, like let's say Silent Hill's multiple endings or Devil Survivor, which has many choices the player can make, but still has to go to one of the pre-written whole entire routes at the end of the game. So there's the complaint that with Telltale games, so like, oh, the disclaimer that the story changes with your choices a lie. No, the story does change. You're just, I guess, expecting the entire narrative to just radically change. No, Stranger of Paradise is not some massive self-aware goofy parody. Just because Jack is serious about his mission to fight chaos does not mean the game's trying to be tongue-in-cheek about it. Yes, other characters highlight how weird he is for the one aspect. Yes, there's a story reason why Jack acts like that and everything, and you can also see that, especially a shift if you play the DLC, in his personality when it comes to how he acts in the main game and how he acts in the whole entire DLC. So I don't get the complaint of, oh, it's a big self-aware parody that randomly gets serious out of nowhere when Jack has been fully serious his whole entire want to destroy chaos. Like, at that point, do y'all think Final Fantasy VII is a goofy game because Sephiroth occasionally whispers into Cloud's ear? No? Then why can't you get the same level of courtesy as Stranger of Paradise? Final Fantasy IX fans, at least we'll talk about the PS1 entries of Final Fantasy. People mention Final Fantasy IX. Final Fantasy IX gets acknowledged. We'll talk about the Super Nintendo entries of Final Fantasy. People will straight up say Final Fantasy 4 and 6, and then just ignore 5 all conversation. So no, you're not the most underrated or most ignored entry in the entire franchise, because people at least remember you and bring you up. No, Dante's redesign in DMC Devil May Cry was not the sole reason people disliked the reboot. People also disliked the reboot because the devs were very antagonistic towards the fanbase. Granted, the fanbase themselves were also very antagonistic towards the developers, so it's a two-way street, but at the same time, you're not convincing anyone to want to give your game a try if you're basically telling them that the franchise they like was trash and that you're the ones trying to fix it. You know? Like, both sides of this aspect were trash. I think the game is still good, but it was more than just, oh, a redesign or something like to draw down to because people didn't like Dante's hair. No, there was more to it. Stop this bullshit. No, Yakuza Like a Dragon did not base the entire gameplay system based off the popularity of April Fool's video. That was a joke comment by the developers. They're all going to do a turn-based gameplay system for the game. The joke video was just that April Fool's joke video, and them joking that, oh, that was the reason we changed the gameplay. No, that was just them trying to be funny. But since it was a text-based interview, the sarcasm couldn't really be gotten across, so I'll just really blame people for believing this whole entire lie that people generally spread. And I understand people say that Musou games are brain dead considering the fact that Musou games gameplay also involves base capturing and needing to deal with enemy captains. Some protecting your own entire headquarter base that gets taken over as an instant game over. On top of one aspect deal with other characters and their skill set, but you also have some games depending on the thing add their own, gimmick to the IP being used, like Fire Emblem Warriors, you gotta take into account with the triangle system aspect of the whole entire thing. You also like its Age of Calamity, which includes the Sheikah Slate abilities from Breath of the Wild into the whole entire mode of the game. Hyrule Warriors, you have to use the weapon in order to stun the boss or to open them up. So I never understood the complaint that, oh, Musou games are just brain dead. Unless people just talking about because huge KO count. Yes, there's many enemy fodder for you to get through, but also so you can increase your meters, like your Musou meter, to use your specials and stuff like that. So, and also most importantly, do you want those enemies to be super competent? Do you want that? Because you'll get annihilated. Like, people complain about those regular fodder enemies being not competent. Never complain about the fodder allies you got not being competent when the whole point is the enemy captains are the big real threat, hence why they're also the ones protecting the bases. Like, I don't get this one entire complaint at all when it comes to Musou games being like, oh, they're just brain dead and stupid and they're all the same thing. And like, no. Well, they're not really, especially if they're based on different IPs, their own different spin putting on the IP. I mean, there's a reason why people want their IP to get a Musou game, If Star Wars Return of Time came out nowadays, right in the early 2000s, y'all would be praising that game story in the same way y'all overly praise Xenoblade Chronicles franchise. I don't get the hate for this plot twist, considering it's the kind of plot twist a lot of stories do nowadays. I don't get it. Never understood the claims that Spider-Man PS4 was propaganda, especially when in the first mission you get attacked by corrupt cops. A lot of people say it because, oh, Spider-Man works with Yuri, who's a cop, or he uses the freaking police scanners in order to freaking find where crimes are. Except not even the police like that Spider-Man does that either. So once again, how is it propaganda if the police have shown to be against Spider-Man, whether it be they're paid off by one of the villains, or even if they just like JJJ and think he's right about Spider-Man? It's never made any sense to me, and it just got to the point where in Spider-Man 2, the cops were basically non-existent. Granted, they didn't do much to begin with, but now they basically do even less than that. But hey, at least now Spider-Man's a fighter, who also they don't do much Spider-Man 2 either. It's just such a get complaint. It's always felt something people just made up and just literally ignored the first mission of the game where he gets shot at by corrupt cops. I will never understand the Persona is an RPG for people who dislike RPGs because it makes no sense. You still have to go through dungeons, you still have to level up, you still have to do turn-based combat, you still have to do everything an RPG does, but since it has social links, people are like, oh, it's RPG people don't like RPGs. Even though despite having social links, which do benefit you, especially when it comes to like P4 and P5 to get more combat abilities, you still have to do the combat. You're still playing an RPG at the end of the day. So I don't get it. Everything people dislike about RPG, Persona 5 especially, has in spades. Long cutscenes, you got it. Characters repeating themselves, you got it. Some people just don't like turn-based RPGs when it comes to RPG games. It has that too. I never understand the idea that Persona 5 is an RPG. People don't like RPGs. It is an RPG through and through. The only difference would be like Persona is more on the easier side, on simpler side of RPG combat, so it's easier to get through, but it's still an RPG through and through. And I don't understand the claim that you know, like RPG like a Persona, where that's not the case whatsoever. You'll probably still dislike Persona 5 or Persona's franchise if you dislike RPGs. Chrono Cross directly references events from Chrono Trigger. It has characters from Trigger show up in Cross. There is no way that you could say these games are not connected in one way, shape, or form. Chrono Cross is designed to be its sequel to Chrono Trigger, using a different method, where Chrono Trigger is about time travel, Chrono Cross is about dimensions. They are connected, Cross is the sequel to Trigger. This isn't up for debate, and people keep trying to put up for debate, when literally you can't. They are connected. That's simple as that. Kingdom Hearts is not super complicated to follow. There's a lot of information to remember. That's because Kingdom Hearts has lots of characters and is a long-running RPG franchise. But just like anything, if you just get told things out of context without any proper setup, yes, it's gonna sound weird. I could probably tell you big moments for Final Fantasy VII right now, and it will sound ridiculous to you because you don't have the context of the situation that would make it more naturally flow in. And this goes with any other also long-running franchise. Any long comic series, manga, anime, film series, there's going to be a lot of information, so it's going to be a lot of things to keep track of. But if someone just asks questions out of order, or get told things out of order with no context or any proper setup, then yes, it's going to sound weird. And that's just because of the way they're being told. So just play the games in order, you will be fine. It's okay to actually enjoy Kingdom Hearts. These are the ones I wanted to go over, at least the ones that came to mind to me. I want to go over with just weird reputations that I never understood and never agreed with. If I think of more, I'll probably add them after the segment, because honestly nothing else comes to mind right now. But I just want to get over what kind of weird reputation games you associate with, or at least know about, because some people talk about it, especially at this day and age of the internet. People will just make crap up and go, that's it, that's the game's reputation, that's its whole thing. When it's a lot more than that, or things with reputation, it's just misunderstanding. Either way, that's what I wanted to go over with. Alright, good day. Soul Calibur 4 was even a bad game. It just had a bad story and bad new characters who were only bad because there wasn't the story to actually flesh them out, not even arcade endings. But the game itself was actually good. I don't know, some people even talking about. Which is funny considering people generally don't even care about the story of a fighting game. At least that's what people scream at the top of their lungs whenever someone talks about issues with the story of a fighting game or bringing back characters who stay dead. But Soul Calibur 5 is a great game. I don't get it. I don't get it. Everyone always says, because the story and the roster. Bro, you don't even care about narratives. Okay, this one I get why it has reputation, even if it's not necessarily true. That yes, you go based on word of mouth and highlights everything says that Asura's Wrath DLC is the true ending, so the idea that Capcom basically chopped off the game's finale and made a DLC is what you would basically get from information. But in reality, it's more so that the game had its own conclusion, and that this is more stuff that was kind of going to be used for a potential sequel, but since no sequel was going to be greenlit, it instead got made into DLC. So it's not that it wraps up the game's conclusion, because it already had an ending. It's more so the fact that this was something that's going to start a new arc and everything, but never got greenlit to be its own full game into DLC. But the fact that it's referred to as the true ending DLC, yeah, I can get where people will be pissed off based on the name and think that Capcom Destiny is coming, when in reality that wasn't actually the case. But that one's the case of, okay, I can't blame you considering what is written on the tin. And I understood people said that, oh, Delsin, evil role in Second Son makes no sense. How does it not make sense? It's the idea that, okay, Delsin is trying to save his tribe from what Augustine did. So the hero path, while I'm doing so, but non-lethally, and trying to help as much people as he can. While the evil pathway would be him trying to accomplish his goal by any means necessary. So I understand how this is apparently a complaint people have of saying that, oh, evil Delsin makes no sense. How does it make any sense? It's a person who wants to save the people he cares about, but he's doing it no matter what the cost is to other people as well. Yes, he does also get more power crazy as he wants more and more power from being a conduit, but it's the fact that he's still trying to do that. People say that, oh, the ending makes no sense. No, the evil ending does make sense entirely. It's just people's weird hatred for being an evil option in a game based around being good or evil. I never understood that. Or people said there's one moment where Delsin gets really mad. But why is he really mad? He's evil. Because evil people can love. My God, what is this kind of logic? But yes, being either good or evil Delsin makes logical sense for Second Son. And I don't want to hear people saying that, oh, evil Delsin makes no sense. It makes sense just fine. While Shift Up do not shy away in the slightest whatsoever when it comes to the sex appeal of the games, such as trying to be Stellar Blade or Nikkei, let's not act as if just because of some Twitter assholes that apparently make Stellar Blade has nothing else in it whatsoever, when it is still a good-ass freaking action game as well. Granted, there are moments people don't like, just the more slower segments of the puzzles can feel like with a kind of fast action game, you feel like there'll be more speedy moments and not these more slower moments, but I guess the game wanted more things to balance out. But there is more Stellar Blade if people actually played it, which is stupid considering there is a freaking demo to it, and by God, can people actually play the freaking game rather than just using it as a goddamn prop for whatever dumb, stupid argument they want to have on the internet. Play games! These are games to be played! Freaking play them and enjoy them! What's wrong with y'all? Link to my review if you need it. Apparently people do need it because people don't play games, I guess. My God! Yes, Resident Evil 5 is a Resident Evil game. It's like Resident Evil 6 is a Resident Evil game. It's like Resident Evil 4 is a Resident Evil game. Just because they switched to more action horror gameplay does not mean they're not Resident Evil. I will go more on this, but kind of made an entire video about Resident Evil 5, where I feel like the hate for it is completely overblown and everything. But yes, there are Resident Evil titles. They're not good games, but Resident Evil games, no. The Resident Evil games, or this isn't really Resident Evil, or Resident Evil 5 ruined Resident Evil, no. But just any complaint you have towards Resident Evil 5 can be applied to Resident Evil 4 as well. Okay, this one comes from a developer specifically trying to highlight Tales of Arise being the first real mature entry, but that makes no sense. Tales of Arise completely plays out basically as any other Tales of game, having, you know, its big, more serious moments, but also its lighter, more fun moments with the party members. So now, this kind of thing made no sense even before the game even came out. But even then, oh, it takes those topics that other Tales of games did, like Tales of Symphonia. So it doesn't make any sense why, oh, this is the first real mature Tales of game. No, not really. It's about the same as the others, although I will say Arise completely fumbles its own messaging and its execution. But it's the fact that, with your topic, it's not the first real mature entry. It is basically has the same kind of tone as any other entry in the franchise. It's still a good game.